Hello everybody, here we are today and we're talking about whether or not Joonas Korpisalo is solely to blame for the Ottawa Senators' struggles in net. So before we start talking about that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So last season proved to be a good season for the Ottawa Senators as they finished with 86 points, which was better than any of their previous 5 seasons, which sparked a lot of reason to be optimistic as the Senators were hoping to take a step forward and make the playoffs for the first time since 2017. So that being said, free agency was going around, and the Senators said, you know what we're thinking about? We're thinking about signing Joonas Korpisalo to a 5-year, $20 million deal to hopefully give us some consistency in between the pipes, as the Finn is relatively young and could be able to help us out in this category as we look to get back to the playoffs. And I think the logic for Ottawa was they saw Korpisalo get traded from the Columbus Blue Jackets, where he had a 3.17 goals against average, to the Los Angeles Kings, where he had a 2.13 goals against average last season, and thought, okay, you went from a bottom feeder to a team that was a playoff team, and thought, well, if we finished with about 90 points this year and we're hoping to take a step forward, and we've seen some of our young guys really have good seasons, he could be somebody that could give us that ability to go where we want to go. However, the reality of the situation right now is that Korpisalo's stats this year have been very, very underwhelming. In fact, for the 29-year-old this season, in 37 games played, he has a goals against average of 3.40 and a save percentage that is .887. Obviously below 900, not a great thing there. And out of 67 goalies that have played 500 minutes this season, talking about goals against average and save percentage, he ranks 59th and 63rd in those categories. So not a great deal, and certainly not what you envisioned for the guy that you signed in free agency that was supposed to be this big fish that was going to help you out. So the question then becomes now, is this solely to blame for Korpisalo, and whether or not the fans of this team should start to dread this contract? Well, let's take a look at the numbers and see what they tell us. And when we're looking at defensive stats, you want their number to be lower. So out of the 32 teams, you'd like your team to be, 32 would be great in terms of shots against per 60. Means you're not giving up a lot of shots. So let's take a look at full strength and see where the Sens rank, whether or not it is a higher number or a lower number. So let's get into it. So at 5-on-5, the Sens rank 11th for shots against per 60, 9th for expected goals against per 60, 9th for... So at 5-on-5, the Sens rank 11th for shots against per 60, 9th for expected goals against per 60, 9th for high danger chances against per 60, 8th for medium danger chances against per 60, and 8th for scoring chances against per 60. So right away you're looking at this and seeing they're certainly not a good team at 5-on-5. Now let's head on over to the PK stats and see what we've got going there for Ottawa. So when they get guys in the box, they rank 21st for shots against per 60, 26th for expected goals against per 60, 26th for high danger chances against per 60, and 24th for scoring chances against per 60, which kind of leads us again to the point where you're seeing they are better on the PK, and that is good, but the problem is things are not great at 5-on-5. And you could say some of the things that are working here is you have guys like Zub and Sanderson that are blocking a lot of shots when there are guys in the box, which is a good thing, helps out kind of a bit with what we've seen there. Obviously giving up a lot less chances, which is something that is good, but the point remains that when you play about 11 times more minutes at 5-on-5 compared to the PK, which is what the Senators have done this season, you kind of need your goalie to be good when you are bad, and unfortunately this is where Korpisalo's numbers don't really look that good. And now we're going to be switching back to the goalies that we talked about a bit earlier, talking about when there were 67 of them at 5-on-5 that had played 500 minutes together. Korpisalo ranks 54th for a save percentage, not a good thing, and I know some of you will say, looking at some of the stuff we mentioned defensively, that probably can explain why he's giving up a lot of goals. I would agree with it, but at the same time, too, Korpisalo's not really been doing them a lot of favors either. Some of these categories he ranks about middle of the pack in for goalies, and still has not really been a reliable guy for them. And in general, has just been getting lit up a lot out of all these games that he has played this season. He's had 14, and I might have to correct that and see if I'm right in there, but at least 13 or 14 games where he's allowed 4 goals or more in those games, basically meaning there is about a 1 in 2 chance or close to it that you're going to see him give up a ton of goals. And if you're Ottawa, giving up more than 4 goals is just not going to be acceptable. And for any team, it's not going to be acceptable. But the Senators being where they are in the standings, saying, Korpi, we really need you to get back into a groove. Now, in terms of helping Korpisalo get into that groove, could this team help themselves out by getting somebody in free agency, whether that be just somebody that's good on the PK, somebody that helps out at 5-on-5 defense, whatever the case is? This is where things get a little bit tricky when trying to help out Joonas, as the club already has a lot of money tied up into the contracts for next season. I looked at Sportrek. They've got, the individuals that they've paid, a lot of these 8-year deals and high money to, or relatively good money to, these players that are maybe some of them worth it, maybe not, maybe time will tell, but the point remains too, there's not a lot of money to play with here, and for the Sens, I don't really know what they want to do here with Korpisalo, because looking at this, let's just say that you go out there and you want to trade Korpisalo, and he's going to be the guy that you say, well, if we just trade him away, things are going to get better, I just know it's going to get better, then you're going to have to give up a lot of cap or give up picks or whatever the case is. Probably give up picks in order to get the cap eaten by another team, which isn't really ideal, but it is something they can do. But it kind of runs into the next problem where you look at it and say, well, we just traded away picks to save money, but now do we have a goalie that we want to be able to go out and get, or are we just going to have another situation where that goalie is going to be stuck playing on a team that isn't great defensively at the moment, and they might not be able to be up to the task, which, let's say they don't go that route and they want to go in-house with that. And I think this is where it is a little fun to look at a guy named Mads Søgaard. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is the Danish goalie that's really big. He's like 6'6" or 6'7". He is somebody that the fan base has been hyping up for a while, or at least you see it a lot on their profiles or their prospect rankings. But the thing is with Søgaard, interestingly enough, right away through 25 games, he has a sub 900 save percentage. It's at 881. Not necessarily saying all of this is his fault, because again, we've highlighted the fact that Ottawa isn't helping out their goalies. But are you really going to expect him to go in there and say, yep, after Korpi struggled, after some of these other guys struggled, after we haven't had consistency in between the pipes for a while now, this individual is going to have to carry the load or break his back trying to do it, not literally, but figuratively? That is something that you have to be looking out for. So I'm going to say that right now you probably can't just say, oh, well, if we get rid of Korpisalo, he's going to be ready to go and help us out. Whether or not he's going to be able to help them out in the future anyway, obviously is still up in the air. But Korpi's contract isn't back-breaking, but at the same time, too, you'd like to have that money back in a certain way if you could, and maybe try to pursue another option if he doesn't turn his game around. So I guess in summary, I do want to say this is Korpisalo the reason this team is doing bad? No, but he is one of the reasons this team is not performing very well. I don't want to say that he can't be a good goalie, because I think he can be a good goalie, but at the same time, too, is he going to be your proven starter in the future? Probably not for this team, and for the Senators, they're probably going to have to figure out what they're going to do, as they don't want to get stuck in the middle. This year, they're not really even stuck at the moment, too, because they probably won't even hit 86 points, but we will see what happens. So anyway, what are your thoughts on Joonas Korpisalo? Do you think that he'll be able to turn it around and become the starter that Ottawa is hoping that he can be? Or do you think they're going to have to look elsewhere for a goalie? Let me know all that stuff down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And Eagle of Hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.